For live show, we pretty much do a live show at this point for the foreseeable future every day. Unless there may be a day where, and I will put a notice in the community or elsewhere. Or if I upload a video and you don't see a live show, then that day just had that substitution. Most of the time, though, from here forward, I don't see any reason why we can't do a daily live show for the next several weeks. We're going to be responding to arguments put forth by Sam Shamoun in this specific series. This is part 2 of his misunderstanding and misuse of Bart Ehrman, a New Testament scholar, whom I discussed in part 1. So see that for more. But there's so much more, right? And we only did an hour and a half for part 1. I'm going to keep this same length or up to 2 hours because I think it's easier. People seem to like it a little bit better if it's like under 3 hours. Those are going to happen occasionally too, like recently, because some videos are more discussion with people who have similar goals and objectives that aren't always as directly doctrinal or discussion based. They're more, well, they're discussion based, but the topic isn't as educational. It's more exposing people like Sam in this series, but because we're dealing with Sam's arguments specifically against Bart Ehrman, well, that's not the same as doing a video about Sam and his attacks against me or other people or our families, okay? Those videos are a little different, as everyone should know, and they're not always the most pleasant because we're dealing with someone that's difficult to really engage and put in his place without acting a little bit unusual or beyond what you would normally want to be like, right? You can only do that to a certain extent with Sam, which we passed a long time ago, especially me. But I've tried many things, as people know. And so Sam has, of course, recently gone way beyond even prior attacks and slander, just really horrific behavior, which, I guess, again, it does fit other people and in some cases what he said about me in the past. But either way, we're going to continue to deal with Sam and the videos that are relevant and show that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He does have a good general knowledge. I've known him a long time, okay, and I'm fair with Sam. He is good at some things. I'll tell you in just a second. But he is not someone who is to be taken seriously, like as someone who is genuinely concerned with the truth. Okay, if you at all think of a scholar in any field as something like that, someone who pursues knowledge of the truth in their field, so they become very well educated about it, they understand it, right? People can always be wrong, but what I'm talking about, that's their objective, to fully understand the correct information so that they're looked to as an authority. People abuse that, I know. That's what we're talking about. Although he does that without any kind of attempted, educational pursuit. What he does is he attacks you. Okay. Now I'm going to give people a couple minutes, say hi to everyone, to join. So we're going to start we're going to go back to the video we left off on. Not the most recent one. We'll do that part 2 tomorrow. But we're going back to the first video that I started with. You can see the link below in the description. And then we'll just keep going through every video he does about the subject and ways and any responses, all that stuff. So pretty much every day we'll just stay busy with, the complete unraveling of everything he does related to these issues. Because it's not so much, look, I don't hate the Trinity. I don't hate Trinitarians. I hate Sam in a justified way because he's the enemy of God. He's a blasphemer. He's the enemy of man. The division this guy has been causing and has caused is, there's really no difference, as I've been telling you, between him and the adversary, because look at what he does. Look at what they do. That's all they do. Keeping me and you divided while they keep dividing us. You say, well, is there any way we would divide us, Greg? We don't have, well, okay. You know, can we try to discuss things like our doctrinal differences apart from people like Sam? Whether it's on my side or yours, and, you know, I'm just dealing with Sam. I've already shown how I am and what I prefer to be, but I also know who I'm dealing with, okay? So you should know, no matter who you are, whether you're me, Bart Ehrman, anybody, if you don't engage Sam the proper way, it just won't go well, you know? Even if you think he's a total idiot, and you're right, in some ways he's not. And if you don't understand that, it's kind of a weird thing, you know? You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't understand certain things, and Sam knows this well, he's seen this, okay? So there's an aspect to his experience that gets downplayed because of his overall patheticness. And, well, look, I've already mentioned all the division this guy causes and stuff. And if you heard him what I heard today, we're going to start the whole Bart Ehrman video with him and everything again in a few minutes. But let me finish a couple things, little intro part. I'll say hi to everyone. What I heard today, and unfortunately, as I mentioned in a recent video, yet the orthos are actually going back to Sam, right? Or he's going back. Well, he'll do whatever he has to. Either way, there's actually what I saw today shows me okay. There's definitely now the barriers are down. It's come on in. Let's see if we can make. It won't work. It will damage you, and you deserve it. So, where does this leave the Catholics, right? Because he literally was on a show today, Cleave to Antiquity, a former Protestant pastor who became an Orthodox Christian, ortho bro. And I don't know Cleve at all. I don't really dislike him. He doesn't give me like a bad feeling, you know. I'm sure he gives some Protestants bad feelings, right? But they would know him better than me in that way. He seems just kind of happy to be where he is. So I don't really, not focused on him. But I do notice that he regularly talks about how news with the Catholics makes him want to exit the planet, right? And it's funny when I see it every time. I've watched a couple as well, and I wanted to join him a couple times, but I don't know fully what. And Catholics, what I do know about Catholics, this is a very big, obviously, okay. So it's not easy to give a fair representative sample. I'm sure there's he's got some things, right? So there's things happening. You got Sam, I guess, right? Do you? What'd you think about his appearance on Cleave to Antiquity today, Catholics? I guess it doesn't matter, right? Let's just all have a laugh, right? It's just, okay, if that's the case, then why are we all doing this, right? Why does it matter at all in the way that it seems to? Maybe it can still matter, but it's like this kind of weird back and forth that never resolves, okay? And that seems intentional to me because we're not all retarded on some, but so how is it not getting resolved with all these people who are smart? So there's something else, right? Something else that's smart. I'm not talking about Sam, but I am talking about Sam. And since we are talking about Sam, right before I get to Bart Ehrman and Sam, I got his video right here. Yeah, the one we did. Okay. Yeah, the David Wood wants my channel deleted and Bart. Okay, so we're gonna go to that. I'm gonna bring it up.
Yahweh.
Let me collapse that. Okay, it's right. I think it is still exactly where we left it off too. I'm gonna go verify that. Yeah, it is. He's right at the I am part. Okay, so you'll see that. I'm gonna bring it up right here. So this is literally where we left off with Sam. Now, we're gonna get right to this, okay? And we're gonna go through with it. It's still got about 2 hours of his first video on this, so we'll go for at least up to 2 hours ourselves, and then probably do a part 3 and wrap this guy up tomorrow. Or we'll do part 2 of the other video we started yesterday. That was just the first part. So one way or the other, we'll kind of go rotate, and maybe sometimes, special weekends, maybe a double. We'll see. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I do want to overwhelm him. So I don't care if he watches or not. I know he does, so it doesn't matter what he says. And overwhelming him doesn't matter what he thinks anyway. He doesn't listen. You're going to see that evidently today. I'm really thinking about other people and just knowing that he can't handle regular responses to anything he says. But let me just go back real quickly to a couple things. Couple minutes. What I heard today from Sam on Cleave to Antiquity was some of the most difficult things I remember, can recall. And this is all genuine. Believe what you want, you know. I'm just telling you how I really felt it. It felt like something I haven't really felt in a long time. And it almost didn't even feel like anything I've ever felt, because I wasn't a direct party, obviously. But in listening, okay, now understand, I know Sam. I've been watching God Logic pretty regularly, not every day and stuff like that, but like over the last several years because of his association with Sam. That's the only reason. Now, I realize he really was just kind of following Sam, and a lot of others were too, so I don't really focus on them. Even though a lot of people want me to, I regularly get people saying, hey, I wish you would go after God Logic more. And I'm like, why? Look, yeah, he's like Sam. It is a concern. It was a bigger concern for me a couple years ago. So I've got a couple videos that, they're not like nice videos. They're not like super mean, but, I'm here to defend my God, my belief. And I saw, and I don't see as the same, but I'll explain in a minute, but definitely when I did those videos you see on my channel and a couple years ago, or even a year ago, right? Now I started to see Sam get a little, I don't want to get into that right now, but we'll say up to a year ago. I just saw him as Sam. I saw him as someone who didn't care, was just here to repeat what Sam said and attack people for whatever reason, notoriety, whatever. Whatever it was, I didn't care about that. I just knew I was dealing with another you-know-who, right? So that got my attention. And so then these other people started popping up, right? This Nick guy, I call him Fearless Fag, and by that Thaddeus, I don't mean by that Thaddeus like a real homo. I mean someone like Sam, who pretends to be a man but is not, right? That's what I'm talking about. I don't ever really use that word about real gay. If we're talking about it, I don't know if it comes out, maybe. That's not my regular usage though, or what I'm talking about with Sam. He might be like really, I mean, I think he is, but the problem is he doesn't come out. Your son is actually far braver than this guy, Thaddeus. That's my whole problem with him. He's a coward. He attacks other people when he can't even be honest with himself, like your son, me, you, or most normal people. That's why I agree with you if you see like I do, and I don't know Thaddeus, I just see what he does, so I can tell, okay. And I can see Sam attacking everyone. I know this, I've been telling you, I told you guys also, if you go back and listen, I said eventually he'd end up back with the orthos, right? Now, when he crossed that line with Jay Dyer and the whole, divorce thing, I thought, well, maybe he's done, I guess not, huh? I'm surprised, credit to you guys. Didn't see that. I knew Sam would try. And then it just happened, right? Now, if anything I said about maybe debating him on the crucible lent itself to you, and then he did what he did, and I just pulled it back, and here we are, well, let me know, right? I still do want to absolutely him. Either way, I think you made him. If that's not the case, if you did it for that in any way, that makes a little sense. Still a big risk, though, right? You should have just said, "Hey, Sam, you want to debate this guy or not?" Yeah, and we don't care. You should have just downplayed it. And he would have jumped. No, he wouldn't have actually. He's a chicken. Either way, I don't care what you guys did. I just think it's weird that Sam, the things he said today made me feel so sad, there was a feeling almost like a betrayal. But not a kind of betrayal I've ever felt before. And again, I'm not a party, so maybe it's just this alien form. Nonetheless, I felt it. I felt when he called him a snake, right? He called him, grifter. He said a couple things actually, two in particular. One was a snake, and there was something else, and I thought, whoa, that, especially from this guy, right? This guy has no business even being in our presence, okay? He's a blob. Sorry, Bart, or anyone else who's watching. This is not a fit person. He's been attacking people his entire life. Okay? He was abandoned as a child, and he takes it out on everybody. I mean everybody. You cannot trust him. Snake? Grifter? Listen, there's nobody, right? So the orthos have to know this. There must have been a reason, and it was either something like I just said, or they hate David Wood so much, they're willing to bring in Sam, right? I don't really see that advantage, though, right? So you guys do an appearance or something. He was going to keep attacking David Wood anyway. Something else had to be going on here, huh? Anyway, we are talking about Sam, but mostly Bart Ehrman. So we're going to get to that now. We got him right here. Let me say hi to everyone. Big surprise on that, though. I felt sorry for God Logic. Now, God Logic has said a lot of things against my beliefs, but I attribute a lot of that to his influence from Sam. He's still young enough to me to see. I don't know that I can attribute full. I don't know. All I know is he's seen something now. But if that doesn't at least give him some serious pause about what's going on, then nothing will. But either way, we'll see. He's young enough to where he's not like Sam. I know Sam. You don't have to trust me. Find out for yourself. You probably already have. Even those who do, though, like I just explained, just can't quite help but keep going back. We'll see if that pays off. I'm going to say no at this point, right? Let's find out. Okay, I can always be wrong. Like I said, there's a few things there that might make sense, but overall, again, the risk, especially with Jay Dyer knows the risk on this. I heard him talk in ways where if he's willing to it would have to be something like, okay. But again, I don't see that bringing him in like today was necessary. Maybe you did, right? Maybe you guys know Sam in a way that if you didn't quite do what you did, then there'd be nothing, right? I don't know. So it's curious to me, though, why such a great risk is being taken by a group that seems to be pretty, the little bit of stabilizing and mellowing off, but I would say still pretty hot right now. And you're going to risk that on Sam Shamoun. Makes sense, right? Yeah, why not? I can think of about a million reasons, but go for it, okay? Anyway, really tough stuff today. That's bad. That should tell you right there what kind of person you're dealing with, okay? You heard what I heard today, and you had all know the people involved. What you heard today should be enough to convince you there's a problem. Now, why you've got certain orthos here and certain orthos there, if you don't think orthos everywhere talk, well, you're probably the same people that would take Sam Shamoun back, right? But that's the orthos. So then now what, right? Either way, it's an infinite loop of insanity. And we're all participants to some degree. But let's try to be a little serious for a while, for a couple hours anyway, and talk about, right? We can only be so serious when we're talking about, who we're talking about, right? Well, but we do have Bart Ehrman to kind of balance things out. He's not a crazy person like Sam. He shouldn't even, that's why I'm doing this, right? I'm not on Bart Ehrman's team either. In some ways, I would agree with him. I would be more in agreement with him on textual issues and things. So we probably wouldn't disagree with a lot other than just our ultimate theology and conviction. Either way, the way Sam and some of these people go after those who disagree with them is pretty wild. Especially Sam, right? Because he doesn't qualify. The stuff he says has such a low level of depth, right? He talks about that's just all to distract you. When he's talking about let's get into the meat, that means there is no meat, right? Otherwise, he would just get into it and you would see, right? People don't announce, hey, here's a bunch of meat, right? They bring it out, you see it, you smell it, you're like, wow, what kind of meat? Maybe you ask, Sam's like, no, look at this meat. And then he just shows you this little floppy piece of skin, right? And you look at it and it says tissue. That he wiped his mind, or never mind. It really happened, though. So, anyway, let's focus on his doctrine, though. Okay, we have enough, and we'll be back on other stuff related to Sam tomorrow and for a while because he deserves it. He's a bad person. He recently promoted alcoholism and sexual perversion to his daughters with him online live, and also slandered me and my mother and family in horrific ways, right? This is not a sound person. We're only giving him this kind of time because so many people were fooled by him because of how lazy they are. They'd rather listen to someone and give him their money and time because he makes them feel better. Like when your ears get tickled, it just kind of feels better, And they don't care enough to find out on their own or listen to those who are much more responsible and presentable with jobs, and who actually spend time with their family versus let Disney raise them for 3-hour sessions and not fail to take more time away from them during pretty much every day while you complain about the time you have away as you're away. And so there's all this stuff going on because, again, all these groups allowed Sam to become what he is. And he's learned a lot from all these different groups that allowed him to take advantage of them and attack people like me, Bart Ehrman, and others. And that's what he does. And he's going to keep rotating through everybody as long as you let him do this and think you can gain an advantage. Temporary, always at a cost, never worth it. How much faith do you have, orthos? Are you serious? You mean to tell me you need Sam Shamoun for... This is insane. Right there, to me, I think disqualifies the orthos, right? I mean, how could you be that stupid that you can't see the problem here? There is no way, right? It's almost like, how do you not see these texts and what they say, but yet you don't, right? So you guys are just not either being permitted or you're lying, right? Now, I can accept that people don't all see the same things and, come to different conclusions. But, we get people like Philip Migney, who's never read any of Migney's volumes, who has nothing to contribute but criticism under a fake name because, they'd rather listen to Sam or follow, right? So obviously an ortho-pagan, someone who's thin-skinned. These ortho-pagans, that's a big weakness I can see. They are thin-skinned right now, and maybe always, right? Makes me think back to when I mock the icons, right? They probably, I didn't really think that was a big deal. I didn't care. I knew they venerated them, and I knew it was a big deal, but now I see that's the problem. I'm happy I did that. That's blasphemy. You guys should be ashamed. I'll break those in half. Don't show me those icons. If they're in my presence, I'm out of there or they're being broken in half. You should never have made an image of the image of God. We can see him very clearly. We don't need you and your fake representations. We certainly don't need your bishops and all these pagan teachers trying to tell us all these things that are not in what is written, which you all ignore. So easy to show, by the way. You want Plato, you want all these, good, take it. We don't need it. We don't need your forms. We don't need your abstractions. We don't need your energies. We don't need your powers. We just need the Bible. We need the power and the created energies and angels of God. We have those. Thank you very much. Nothing you can do can stop us. So good luck to you. It's funny to me when I see all this stuff, especially you taking Sam Shamoun back. That makes you almost enemy number one. And maybe you were all the time, especially since you don't use God's name. You lie about God all the time. You present a fake Messiah. You're part of the Dragon Church. You kidding me? You guys are funny, I'll give you that. But the shame I saw today was another level for the orthos, okay? The Catholics, I don't know what you're doing, right? Where's the unity? What do you guys, do you believe the same thing or not? Is this just a dragon in different forms and you're going to make us go crazy trying to figure out what you're doing? Probably, right? One way or the other, we know the Protestants, you guys have got to break free from everything that's not written in the best evidence. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's get to Sam. What I saw today was pretty wild. Okay, this is also wild. Yeah, or, well, let me say I, because I don't need you guys coming here acting all, whatever you think you are. You guys should be at home taking care of business, not worrying about other people so much. You guys have a lot to worry about with your statues, praying to all these people. Are you crazy? All these councils, creeds. I mean, the volume of requirement, of burden you guys have added to people since the first century is incredible. And you don't have as good of a history as we do. We can show with your own people, like I have done, and the New Testament, you're nothing like the apostles, right? Nothing like what you see in the New Testament is to be replicated beyond anything that contradicts what's in the New Testament. So it's as simple as that, and you do that. So it's simple. Now, back to the baby level, right? Like the infantile stuff. Either way, let's listen to Sam as he tries to, we might cover some of the Exodus 3:14 and John 8:58 material. In fact, let me just bring up the Bible Hub real quick. Oh, it is up. Okay, good. Okay, I got it. All right, so let's listen to Sam for a few.
I am equates to Yahweh. I am is equivalent to Yahweh.
Okay, so as I explained yesterday, none of this is true. It's so easy to show. I mean, I gave like a really basic version of how he's wrong in what he's saying, as anyone could do. Any Watchtower person could do this to anybody. Yet I hear this argument from Jay Dyer. I hear this from almost all these top-level orthos and other people. It's just not going to work. I mean, I don't think any of you could deal with what I said to him in part one. And that was nothing, right? It's just the basics of what's really there. So this lie you guys have invented since the 4th century about I am, right? This is the kind of stuff that is a problem for us in terms of dealing with Protestants, because any hope we might have that could be based on reasonable discussion of translation and doctrine and things like this whole I am, right? They're very regardless of the divisions with the Orthos. And Catholics, they got this, right? This stuff, Sam is very good at seeing that. You see, I don't know how it works so well. Like, look at what happened today. It was all he had to do was reach out to Jay Dyer a couple times and maybe say a couple nice things about the Orthodox religions in ways where he hopes everyone comes together, and then within a few days, you guys have him fully platformed and legitimized. That's pretty wild. And he's just like immediately, meaning this guy will turn on a dime. Didn't you see that? This is such, I don't understand how it's not visible. Right? Like this. I am. How's it you don't see the difference? Like I explained in part 1. Why don't you accept it? Well, because you're loyal to your group, you're loyal to your history, and you're just not going to risk it, are you? This guy can't risk. I'll just leave it alone. He can't risk anything. Otherwise, he'd be on his own, like he kind of is, but he's not. He's trying to get the best of both by basically doing what he wants, but pretending like he agrees with you. Sound familiar? Right. People have been doing this a long time, both Christian and non. And if you don't think the devil or someone like him can do this or does this, you're just contradicting yourself and your own beliefs about God, the Bible, and how people can be so misinformed. Okay, but this person right here is not, he's read my stuff. Everything he's saying here is already addressed. He's not saying, well, some people say this means this. And while it mostly means that, it can mean this. And so I go, no, not even that. So it's a catastrophe, right? It's just the lowest level. The way he totally misrepresented in part 1, just look near the end, but it was based on this, as you can see. He completely lied to everybody and pretended that at the very end of verse 15 right there, where it says, "This is my name forever," right after the break at the start of verse 15 from the prior verse, God gives his name, Yahweh. Descriptively thereafter, the God of your fathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. That's his name. Sam pretended, he misrepresented this text as if he literally read verse 14, I am has sent me to you, and then stopped, went back earlier, and connected that with the first question. What is his name? As if questions are always answered in sequential order without the speaker first giving some prefatory material that clearly is not a direct answer, and even descriptively in the very text doesn't attach the descriptive answer to the part that he did. Yet that's what he said. This is what he's using against Bart Ehrman, or in addition to what Bart Ehrman said, because in some sense they do agree on it being this kind of term, right? Divine name or just, it's not. Yes, we all know it's been used that way for a long time. Since the 4th century. I have a whole history about it in my JWD 3rd edition that shows that not until then was ego eimi used in the way you guys use it at all. It's just, it introduces either an understood or expressed predicate. Sometimes eimi, being a verb, can have an existential role in another idiom, like a present of past action still in progress, right? So where you have in a language like Greek, a different sentence structure than you do in English, or you make a reference to the past and use a present verb. So before this, I am. Since this, I am. But what is really meant is, I've been since then. I was since then. I was is not as good, at least in a as and I have been since, because of the completeness of the existence that is captured. I was can attribute it more so fully, but not always ultimately, just to a past sense without the continuation that is required by him speaking and using right before Abraham was I, ego eimi. So he is gathering up both the past and the present. Like I've said everywhere, he never addresses it. He just lies and or uses things I've already responded to. So it's the same pattern with him every time. But because he keeps lying and he keeps getting up here and attacking people horrifically and has no job, has no life, abandons his kids, sticks them in front of Marvel movies, and in retaliation, I guess, for him being abandoned by his father. But either way, whatever his reason is, he's a little man. So he attacks everybody. Okay? He'll never get over that. He can't regrow his hair. He absolutely cannot get unfat. And his penis is gone. Okay? He's going to be miserable and attack everybody and their mothers. Period. He literally went after God Logic today. That's just the beginning, pal. It was pretty bad, huh? I know. So he's crazy. Okay? He's got to be taken. He should have been taken out a long time ago by real men. But we have people like the Orthos who clearly are not real men, right? Unless they're taking him in to knock him out, right? We'll see. But this is ridiculous that anybody, right? Someone has to start telling everybody what is going on here. Right? Who's facilitating this stuff with this kind of person that makes us all look like we're idiots? That we can never stop arguing about the simplest stuff like I am because people like this.
If I am is the name, that means Yahweh is the name.
We already showed that it doesn't say I am is the name. It says Yahweh is the name, like I just explained, and it's literally staring you right in the face. It literally connects this is my name forever to the very end of verse 15, after which Yahweh is introduced, after there's a break from verse 14, when God furthermore says to Moses, say this to the sons of Israel, Yahweh, ... this is my name forever. How in the world are you connecting that with verse 14? You want to explain that? Please do. Please explain how the structure of verse 15 and everything I just said to you supports your understanding. We'll be eagerly anticipating this video, right? Guy can barely explain what he's looking at in English and what he's going to get into more detail and tell us how this is my name forever at the end of verse 15 somehow is explaining I am has sent me to you, when that's again not the correct translation. It's not used as a name. It's not a name here as it's potentially being shown here. Usually when they capitalize like that, they mean it as a name. It's not a name. First of all three of those say I am. I am who I am, and I am. I talked about this in the other part, but still. Only one of those is I am, right? In the Greek. The other two is haon or hoon. And again, there are many native Greek speakers and Greek New Testament scholars and just Greek and actual Greek scholars who have taught in Erasmian Greek. I'm going to get into that later. For decades, by the way. Many of us have been taught in Erasmian Greek. Anyone who tries to tell me or correct me from Erasmian Greek, I'm going to have a field day. You know how many different ways people speak today in their own language, whether it's English? Just think about that. How many different ways people speak different words in English. And so in other languages, including Greek. But the way they talk, right, it's incredible. Like somehow we can't speak a different way of learning Greek when that's what some of your best people taught us and what people learned for centuries when you guys collapsed. Yeah, good for you. I dare you to make an issue out of it. Either way, I'm going to say what I want, how I want, and you can figure it out. This is all nonsense, right? Read my JWD editions 1, 2, or 3, chapter on I am. It's so simple, right? This guy's a clown. He knows all the answers, doesn't give them, or he's forgotten them all, and so he's really stupid. But I think he remembers, and he's just a liar. And he has no choice, no way out, because where's he going to go, right? Nowhere. Maybe the ortho bros here, but that's still going to be same interpretation here. So it's just gone times gone.
And what did Ehrman say? This last verse, come on, dude. This last verse, before Abraham was I am, is especially intriguing, as we have seen in the Hebrew Bible. When Moses encounters God at the burning bush in Exodus 3, he asks God what his name is. God tells him that his name is I am. In John, Jesus appears to take the name upon himself.
Okay, so we're going to go to Exodus 3, but as you can see right there, what does Bart Ehrman say very clearly? Now, we'll let him explain that. I'm a little cliffhanger. What do you all see very clearly? He's even highlighted it, right? Jesus appears to take the name upon himself. So as I said earlier and in part 1, Bart Ehrman, like many, unfortunately, like I discuss and have discussed for several decades, okay, 3 minimum, in writing and in public, I am is not a name. Never. No, it's used everywhere except potentially John 8:58, and even there it may be used in a double sense, but either way, the grammar's different, like I'll get to and I've gotten to and we already know. Everywhere else, though, it's pretty much used to, there are some other places, but mostly Old New Testament. As I said, it's introducing an understood or expressed subject. So it's literally, in most cases, ego eimi, the equivalent of ani or anoki hu. So you have in the Hebrew, ani, anoki hu, I, he. There's no express verb am, like eimi in the Greek, or am in English. And the Greek does a little different. It does I am, but it doesn't express the he, the who. It's funny because the Hebrew word for she is he. Either way. For he, it's who. So, when people criticize translations like the NWT and others for like saying I am he, they're just wrong. They're actually showing they don't understand that this is his level, right? They're on his level, which is gone. But you guys view him as pretty high, so you have to think of it. You have to just forget him for a minute. It's pretty low level, but he uses it, so you would mistake it as high. Because you would look at the Greek and what? You would see there's no he. And sometimes there's a he, right? You can have a term like altos, and that occasionally is used in the Old Testament Greek. Not always, and it doesn't have to be. So, either way, there's sometimes little slightly different meanings, right? Because altos can mean the same word same. So, and there's some correspondence with Hebrew terms in the Old Testament as well. So, I am the same or same one. But it's talking, that's a contextual, right? So sometimes you have terms like pronouns, he, she. Those refer to things that are understood, that they've been talked about. So you don't have to keep spelling it out, right? Like when you see an angel saying, I'm speaking God's words, or God told me what to say, or it's very clear that's what's happening. You don't need it like retold you every time unless you're a completely broken person who was abandoned by your father, right? And you're just lashing out at, never mind. That is the truth, though. That's the only reason he does what he does. He's a miserable person. But it makes me feel good because I get to expose him, and I know he's very influential. So this helps us. Sam, you're helping us. You're helping us reach more people and expose you. Okay? So this is all good. And it's people are rallying. I'm seeing the rally. I didn't see it before. I'm seeing it now, so good. Let's keep rallying. We're gonna take back this space in a way that gets rid of people like this, so that they're no longer relevant or no longer in this space because it's such a joke, right? The things they say, the lies they keep telling for what? So they can not be with their daughters they keep claiming they love so much? Exactly. Makes sense to me, right? Let's see. Okay, so I said we go to Exodus 3. You heard what he said, right? Let me bring that up. We'll let him finish a little bit there, but let me just get to it. I'll bring you guys up with me. So you can go to the Bible Hub. Right, so let's see if we'll go back to him and play him for a second to see if he says what he should say. But I didn't hear it yet, so maybe not. We'll just use the NASB. I'm open to anything else, so if you see something you don't like it, just tell me or whatever. We can always review something if it's controversial, but otherwise we'll just go with the reliable source. I think the NASB is pretty reliable. I also do like the NRSV. I've come to like the NASB more a little within the last year or so. I've just been using different comparisons, and so maybe it's just standing out more. Who knows? It's hard to say, right? I don't compare everything. But previously, I've found use in the NRSV and the RSV. Again, none of these are perfect, and I've criticized them as well. But I've found some seem to be seeing the same thing I'm seeing, which is good, because sometimes you want to make sure, right? You want to be the only one, unless there's some real good reason. But either way, there's a certain sense you can kind of tell if you understand these things a little bit, and so you can see how it's reflected in some text translations. Of course, you think they all blow up with the divine name and really important stuff, but either way, we can't have everything, at least not today with all the Baal worshippers, all the people like Sam. Yeah, let's bring him back up, though. First, I said we'd let him finish, right? He was talking about what we were just going to show. Here it is. Let's go.
And this guy keeps trying to convince us nowhere in the New Testament is Jesus said to be Yahweh. Really? You see how he's refuting himself? Oh, you thought that was bad?
He's going to refute himself right here. Watch. If he goes away from this text and doesn't address what we're going to read in that account, we got him.
Hold on, homie. Again, from another book. Another one of his writings.
Yeah, you better choke on it, buddy, because you just blew it right there. So we all saw, right? We all saw him run, right? Now, with Sam, running is more of a roll, right? But, we don't always get to see how it goes. We just speculate. Either way, let's go back. Yeah, let's go back and expose him, right? We're here to expose Sam's misunderstanding of Bart Ehrman, which he's on full display, right? He literally did not, first of all, he did not highlight Jesus appears, right? He read it, it's highlighted. That should have been followed up on, right? Don't you think? He should have said, well, after what we just read, or based on this, it's not appears Bart, whatever. No, listen to what he did. And, the worst part, he didn't tell the truth about Exodus 3, did he? He never does. I'm telling you guys, it's so wild. You want to know what I mean? Listen to this guy.
You see how he's refuting himself?
Okay, I went back to the part just before it, about 20 seconds, because I want you to hear the whole thing. I want you to hear the whole part below what he's highlighting right now. Right? He's highlighting John 8:58, right? But he's about to refer to Exodus 3 in the burning bush. That's the part I want you to focus on.
I am, is especially intriguing, as we have seen in the Hebrew Bible. When Moses encounters God at the burning bush in Exodus 3, he asks what asks God what his name is. God tells him that his name is I am. In John, Jesus appears to take the name upon himself. And this guy keeps trying to convince us nowhere in the New Testament is Jesus said to be Yahweh. Really?
Well, once again, he says appears, you say is. So you're making an equation where he makes a hypothetical or potential, right? It's not in a certainty. And I already explained in part one where you totally blow the potential um, frame of reference, or at least a related concept of God and Yahweh in a way that fits with very well known and contemporary writers like Philo. So see part one. But either way, so he blew the whole appears part, right? He absolutely doesn't say anything. Let's let him finish. But it was the Exodus 3 stuff. Let's listen to it one more time. I'll let him play it the whole way before he lowers it again, okay? Fully contextualized and gone. I'm going to show you right here. Listen.
Before Abraham was I am, is especially intriguing, as we have seen in the Hebrew Bible. When Moses encounters God at the burning bush in Exodus 3, he asks God what his name is. God tells him that his name is I am. In John, Jesus appears to take the name upon himself. And this guy keeps trying to convince us nowhere in the New Testament is Jesus said to be Yahweh. Really? You see how he's refuting himself? Oh, you thought that was bad? Hold on, homie. Again, from another book.
All right. So you heard it all, right? Let's go ahead and read. Ha ha ha. What he didn't read, nor properly contextualize, and that is Exodus 3. The burning bush. Now Moses was pasturing the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. Then the angel of the Lord, angel of Yahweh, these are all created. In the Bible, there are only created angels. They're all referred to as being created in Psalm 104 and in Hebrews 1. And Paul also refers to them, along with everything else, powers, authorities, as creations. We'll go to that text in a little bit, but I have a whole video on it, so you can check that out. So, there are no references to uncreated angels. There are only references to angels as created. Angels deliver messages for someone else, and they're either human or spirit. That's it. So there's no such thing as an uncreated angel. That's just invented to explain how Jesus can be an angel, because he is. We believe anyway. The Bible teaches. Isaiah 9, 1 Corinthians. I'm referring to the Old Testament now. The rock that followed them. We believe all those things are him as an angel. You know, some are more interpretive, right? Like the accounts involving him as the prince of the army of Yahweh in Joshua 5. Right, the angel of Yahweh here and elsewhere, but there are other angels described, like in Zechariah, there are two angels of Yahweh. They both come from him. They both bring information that they didn't have before, especially the one in particular they identify as the person of the Trinity, the main one. He literally asks Yahweh for information that Yahweh gives him, that he then gives to the people. It's not a rhetorical question like these guys keep presenting as if it's, oh, see, he already knew. No, that's those accounts that are rhetorical. In the actual account, he doesn't know and is given the information. So why do you keep lying to everybody, right? It's just this nonstop deception and false equation for convenience. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe the security of your, just intellectual concept of God and things, and you don't want to give that up, regardless of the social security, right? Convenience of knowing a lot of people that believe the same way. Yeah, that's a good thing. Guess what, though? Once you start engaging people at levels where you think you're better than everyone else, it doesn't matter how good you think you are or how many people you think you have. Okay? You either have the best or you fall. And once that crown falls from your guys' head, you're not getting it again. Let me tell you that. Sam has already fallen. He's a mass, right? He doesn't even understand the account, right? We'll go back. He never once mentions the angel here. Never. In what we just read, we heard a couple times. So he talks about God speaking his name, I am, right? That's what the quote Sam read from in that video. We'll go back to it. We just heard it twice. It's not God talking in this bush. It says, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the midst of the bush, and he looked and beheld, and the bush was burning, yet the bush was not being consumed. So Moses said, I must turn aside, see this marvelous sight, why the bush is not burning up. When Yahweh saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush. Okay, that's the angel. Okay, it just introduced the angel. So we're not stupid, are we? Does it have to be reintroduced every single time for you guys? Are you serious? Especially with explicit statements in this very book and in other books like John that you can't see God and live, and it's never happened. We're not here for your reinterpretation of those things into Trinitarian persons and that aren't here and spoken of or defined or used in those ways. And if they're not, I don't care how many ways you can use or define a term. Yours are either in these authoritative sources or it's over, and they're not. So good luck to you. Right, like right here. Okay, none of this works for you. It's the angel. The angel doing exactly what we tell you guys he does, and that is speak for and as God, because no one can hear God. God is the Father. That's why Jesus says you haven't heard the Father's voice. Yeah, but we're hearing God, Yahweh, talk all throughout the Old Testament. You guys say, well, that's the Trinity. That's the second person. No, that's God. That's Yahweh. He's one. Okay, he's using an angel like right here. This account is an example. They're all over the place. The angel is introduced. Everything that's happening is that angel. That's just how it's written, and you guys are stupid. And you keep misusing the narrative style of these accounts just because they don't repeat what's obvious before every single time these type of terms are used. You get here, this is the kind of stuff Sam thinks means this angel is uncreated. Yes, this is it. Okay? This is the sum total. It's or text like this, where he'll say, well, Greg, yeah, it's the angel, but that angel's uncreated. It's God. No, the Bible presents angels as created, and no one has seen or heard God at any time. Even if we want to leave the heard part aside related to the Father for now, fine. It explicitly talks about God in John 1:18, not any person of a Trinity. That concept isn't even there. And it's very clearly differentiating him from the only begotten Son God, who explained him, whom we did see. Okay, so no one has seen that God. Now, the orthos are a little more consistent with this in some way because of their Middle Platonism and the way they see these kind of powers and energies as the things that either conceptually or actually represent God to a person without being God. Whereas Catholics and Protestants in large part don't think of it that way. They think of them as actual real divine manifestations that are really that. So it gets a little hard to understand unless you're familiar with a lot of this stuff. But that's why I try to keep it simple and just deal with the overarching issues as far as like how many persons are there, how many people are God, and who is that, right? Like I said before, and in part 1, John 24:24 tells us what God is, what his nature is, spirit. Right before that, Jesus said, what's born from spirit is spirit, paralleling it with what's born from flesh is flesh, okay? So we know what the nature is. It's spirit, the same as the other sons of God. And yes, that means they're like him, Sam. Oh, I wonder what I'll do when you bring up Psalm 86 and Psalm 85 and all these Psalms in the context that don't teach what you describe, right? Okay, so God is spirit. It's explicit. Okay? We don't need to reinterpret it. And if you think you can reinterpret it better than the wording in its context, go for it. Right? God is spirit. So John 4:24 tells us what he is. Galatians 3:20, Deuteronomy 6:4, they both tell us how many he is. He's one. He's not talking about how many gods there are. He's telling us how many God is. A direct contradiction of the Trinity. There's no way out. God is not three. He's not triune. When you say he's triune, you're literally contradicting Galatians 3:20. It's telling us he's one. It's not talking or making a parallel with the Israelites on the other side as a collective body as one. And that would still be individual beings, totally different, like your false analogy with Adam and Eve. Again, that's referring to two. Deuteronomy 6:4 doesn't do that. And it's not even two in the way that you guys think about that. So the analogy fails and the actual text fail in terms of a parallel. It's a false parallel. So false analogy. It's not a true parallel because in the other text there are more people. Or in Galatians 3:20, you're just assuming that. It could still be with each individual person. And there's only one. On the other side with God, there's only one, and the mediator in the middle. That's literally what he says. You're just interpreting it, those who argue otherwise, that it's got all these, the whole nation of Israel. That's still all a bunch of different individuals, individually in covenant with God through the mediator, and God's only one. That's what it says. That doesn't change based on what you think about those on the other side of the contract. That doesn't change God being one. Right. So he's one. He's spirit. Oh, and the one God is the Father. We all know that. So you can disagree with me. And I think with some Trinitarians, we definitely need to do a better job of talking and maybe, hopefully, I do understand Trinitarians. Like I talked with Kelly Powers and others, I do understand their views in ways where I think there are reasons why. And it's certainly not an easy thing for people to expect everyone to agree with them when they've been learning that for such a long time and with such authority and in ways that are just not so easy to transition from. Unless you're Sam, he can do it all day long, any day, as long as he is viewed as number one and given this credit and glory he doesn't deserve while his kids suffer at the hands of Disney the whole time. Okay, so it's very clear, is it not? The actual text we're not supposed to go beyond, and that doesn't require interpretation beyond its context and the time in which it was written, is clearly presenting an angel appearing in the bush, speaking for and as God. That's it. There's nothing here about being uncreated. Nothing about it being a person of a multi-personal God. It's the angel speaking for and as God, and that's it. Okay, that happens, by the way, not just there, but everywhere throughout the Bible where these things occur. If we go back to this just real quick, let's go where this account is actually referenced in the book of Acts. Look at how the New Testament applies what we just read. Okay, so we're reading from the account in the burning bush. Right, and here, Stephen starts speaking. Let's see where this begins. He starts recounting the events of the Old Testament. Right, he talks about the famine in Egypt. He talks about the kings, the different kings that came about, Moses. Okay, so we're getting close to the burning bush. Look, right here. This is where he had to flee because he killed the guy. Right here. Verse 30. After 40 years, an angel appeared. It doesn't say the angel. An angel or angel. This whole unique status beyond just being the angel used most often and potentially the archangel, as Jude identifies Michael as being the archangel of Yahweh. Yeah, there is a specialness there, but they're still angels. They're still all collectively referred to together in that way as well. So this status they keep attributing to the angel of Yahweh, that's all based on those what we just read in Exodus 3, where later in the account the angel starts saying, I am the God of your fathers, right? So they take that to mean that this is a special angel that's uncreated, that it never says that or implies that. They take it because of those words it's speaking. So instead of seeing it like we do as an angel speaking for and as God, exactly like Isaiah does all throughout that book, instead of seeing it like that, they have chosen, because the Bible doesn't tell us, hey, this is how you understand that, right? This is something they're bringing to it. Okay? The Bible doesn't give us this interpretation. It doesn't state it explicitly. So where else could it be coming from? From them. So they've invented a category of angel that's uncreated. Okay? In the face of the evidence of the Bible that says angels are created. Then they identify a special angel as uncreated and a person of a triune God, which is, again, in conflict with everything else I just said earlier. Either way, this special status they accord to this angel is never like carried over anywhere in the New Testament, okay? Unless you're going to say in Jude, when Jude identifies the angel arguing with the devil over Moses' body in Exodus, right? After the angel's appointed in Exodus 23, Jude says that's Michael. So other than that, and if you're okay with that, good. We'll take that special. We believe that. It's not a requirement for people like me, but either way, it seems pretty clear. Much clearer than what you guys have for what you claim. And right here, it says an angel appeared to him. Nothing special, okay? It doesn't say a special angel. If they understood this to be an uncreated angel, a person of God equal to God, this is a pretty basic way of making that point known. Angel, okay? Angel to him in the wilderness, appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai in the flame of the burning bush. We read that, okay? So the angel of Yahweh, the angel of the Lord, like it said in Exodus 3, before the angels started talking, that angel goes on to talk like and say the same thing that we're reading with I am. That's the angel, right? Yeah, it is. That's how angels talk. That's how Isaiah talks. That's how other prophets talk too. But again, they're not all the same, but some do it like more than the angels. So, because they're repeating God's words, it's the way they did it. That's just the way it was. No one misunderstood it when they did it that way. Only a few times, occasionally, like in the New Testament Revelation, which we're going to get to and I have already. But that's by far not what regularly happens. They do sometimes in the Old Testament kind of wonder at these beings, like in Judges. The angels ask, what is your name? Sometimes the accounts do impress upon people in unique ways, and so the details aren't always the same, or the reaction of the people isn't always the same. But the angel is never identified in the way that they talk about it, and not even here in Acts. Okay, so what we read in Exodus 3 is the angel of Yahweh is just an angel in Acts. When Moses saw it, he was astonished at the sight, and as he approached to look more closely, the voice of the Lord came. See, so Acts 7:30 through 31 very clearly, just like Exodus 3, does the exact same thing. It first introduces who's in the bush. An angel. Then it says Moses saw it and approached. And then the voice of Yahweh. It was Yahweh. To think this voice isn't the angel is pretty much insane, isn't it? Right? So the Trinitarians are going to say, yeah, exactly, Greg. That's because the angel is Yahweh. It's Trinity, right? You said it, Greg. No. Okay, even if that's in a realm of possibility, anachronistically, meaning it's out of time in terms of its concept, but if you wanted to pretend it's possible, I guess, right? It's clearly not articulated as a way for them that they were understanding angels or God or these terms at all. Doesn't matter, because there's a better explanation. See, we don't need to look at an explanation outside. What you guys are doing is telling us this means something that was figured out later. It's clearly not what we read in Exodus 3 and what we're reading right here in Acts 7. This is clearly not telling us Trinitarianism. It's telling us an angel is there speaking as God, as the Lord. That's what both accounts say. You can interpret angel or angel of Lord as uncreated. It doesn't say that. Nowhere in the Bible. But it does say angels are created, and angels do, and humans do speak as God. So that should be the preferred option, regardless of whether you want to consider Trinitarianism an option. Why are you not? You're looking at the worst option is what you're doing because of your tradition that's later. And you're blaming us or criticizing us and calling it condemning us because we're like, well, no, that's later. The actual text and the context that they were thinking in based on what we know and can see, and in comparison to what you later saw, is that there's an angel here speaking for and as God. Yeah, we see that pattern all throughout the biblical books. So why is it a problem? Why can't we see it that way? It clearly is not forcing, nothing in this account is forcing us to see Exodus 3 the way you guys do. And then it goes on to say, so the voice of the Lord, what we just read in Exodus 3, says the exact same things. It goes on to continue quoting the account. Verse 35, Moses, whom they disown, saying, who made you ruler and a judge, is the one whom God sent to be ruler and a deliverer, with help of the angel who appeared to him in the thorn bush. Okay, so we can check the Greek, but we'll just take NASB's translation for it. It looks like, so there's no real difference between the angel or an angel or the angel of the Lord. They're all three used for the same thing. Very clearly, the author of Acts 7 here knows of Exodus 3, and we just read it. And it said the angel of Yahweh, angel of the Lord. Acts 7:30 refers to that as an angel. Acts 7:35 refers to that as the angel who appeared. Doesn't say the angel of God or the angel of the Lord. And it says that this an angel spoke as Yahweh. So this has to be the angel of the Lord in that verse. And this is also that same angel, it looks like. No reason not to think it. Moses said to the sons of Israel, God will raise up a prophet. This one was sent in the assembly together with the angel who spoke to him at length on Mount Sinai. So this is clearly the angel that God sent with him from Exodus 23, is it not? What other angel could it be, right? And therefore, what other angel could it be when Jude says Michael's right there in that very range of the account after Exodus 23 where Moses dies and his body's there. And so that's when the dispute happened. And then that very angel appears to Joshua as the prince of the army of Yahweh. These are all connected and very clearly apply to Michael the archangel in my view, or at least God's angel. This is an angel though. It's not God. It's an angel speaking for and as God. There's nothing that tells us in any of these descriptions in Exodus 3 and Exodus 7 that this is some kind of angel you should think of as God. It just says there's an angel there who appears and starts speaking for and as God. The assumption would therefore have to be, right? It's not like you just leave something like that hanging and what? If you don't get the correct answer, you die forever, right? No, I don't think so. Verse 38, this is the one who was raised in the assembly together with the angel who spoke to him at length on Mount Sinai with our fathers. See, all those were an angel, the angel, whatever angel was there. Our fathers were unwilling to be obedient to him. On the contrary, they rejected him, turned back to, just like Yahweh said in Exodus 23, don't disobey him. He has the authority to pardon or not pardon. My name, meaning it is not the angel's name, is in him. Okay, so, and we know from Exodus 43:7, God gives his name, he calls and gives his name to those whom he creates for his glory. Exactly like Jesus in the New Testament, Philippians 2. We're going to talk about more either in this video or part 3, because Sam brings that up too. But right here, one more time, we're here in Acts 7. There's another reference here. A plural to angels, which we also find in other books like Galatians and Romans, about the law being given through angels, plural, not one angel. But there's a reference right here we can use. Right here in verse 53. You received the law as ordained by angels, plural, and yet did not keep it. So it's not just one angel in the Old Testament, in these accounts that they're referencing here in Acts 7. And there's nothing in Acts 7 in referencing the angel in those accounts, including Exodus 3, which he's been reading from and claiming that because that angel, he didn't even say it, right? See, that's where Sam was dishonest. That was the main thing I wanted to show you. But that was at the start, right? Remember, he read this.
Another one of his...
He read that part right there. But he never once brought up the angel that the very account in Exodus says is there and starts talking. That's our view. Okay, that's our belief, right? So you guys, any of these Trinitarians or others telling us as Bible believers that an angel speaking for and as God is bad for us, that's literally our view, right? We literally believe that based on some of those very accounts I just read and others. That's from the Old and New Testament where it says that's what's happening. All these other extended interpretations, Platonic, Middle Platonic, Neoplatonic, any non-biblical view of angels that holds them as uncreated, which is nowhere taught and against what's taught explicitly, or that they're a person of a triune God equal to God, such as namely the Father, being a person of God. It's a little different with the orthos, but they would still say that, it's sharing in the divine nature. But it gets even more wild with them. They're the wildest, right? They're the most off track conceptually. Right? They're literally in the realm of Plato and trying to make all his stuff work with the Bible. Okay? It doesn't work. That's not what it teaches. It's against what is taught. That's why you guys can't use the divine name. Hello? Right. It's not going to work. So hopefully you guys can all start putting this together because they don't appear to be able to. Either way, Sam ran this and lied. He never once brought up the angel. He never dealt with it. And he never dealt with Ehrman's comment about appears to. So it's a catastrophe all around by him, but good for us because we got to learn more and to see his deception.
You see how he's refuting himself?
No, but we sure saw you do it to yourself, and we added to it just to make sure there was no question about it. But let's hear from you again.
This couch is full of the air. Things are quite different in the Gospel of John. In Mark, Jesus teaches principally about God and the coming kingdom, hardly ever talking directly about himself, except to say that he must go to Jerusalem to be executed, whereas in John, that is practically all that Jesus talks about. Who he is, where he's come from, where he's going, and how he is the one who can provide eternal life. Jesus does not preach about the future kingdom of God in John. The emphasis is on his own identity as seen in the I am sayings. He is the one who can bring life, giving sustenance. I am the bread of life, 6:35. He is the one who brings enlightenment. I am the light of the world, 9:5. He is the only way to God. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me, 14:6. Believe in Jesus is the way to have eternal salvation. Whoever believes in him may have eternal life, 3:36. He, in fact, is equal with God. I am the Father, 1, 10:30.
Okay, so that's what he means by equal with God. It's important to remember that. We did talk about that also in relation to John 5 the other day in part 1, and I have a ton of, I pointed out in another video I did, like if I have a lot of videos on John 5, but several will come up if you type that text in my channel. John 5:18, 5:19. It's very clear. It's very easy to understand. He totally misunderstood it. He had no idea, right? He like literally reads how Jesus watches what the Father does and then does likewise. He talks about this and he totally misquotes it again. He doesn't even bring up or highlight likewise. He acts like it's not there, lies to everybody. And he doesn't ever conceptualize the actual wording of the text and what it says correctly. Neither do the Ortho Bros. And probably many Trinitarians. The Catholics and Protestants are a little different, it seems, when I talk to them. But The Ortho Bros and others, they're like, no, it all happens at the same time. Right? They're all working together. They're never working apart. Yeah, that's literally what the Bible doesn't teach, right? It teaches directly against that. So you don't believe the Bible, that's very clear. And we don't care what you think about time. We can even look at this. It literally says it's sequential. You're wrong about time. I have a whole video on it. No response from any of you guys. The Bible is very clear that there is time in heaven. It's just not the same or measured the same as it is for the earth or the universe that we can tell. There's definitely time there, though. There's definitely events that happen. So you guys are just wrong and lying to everybody. You keep inventing reality like an uncreated angel. So we won't let you do that. You'll never get away with it. It either teaches explicitly or clearly what you're saying or you're wrong. You will not be allowed to reinterpret jack shit. You understand? It either clearly teaches contextually what you say it does or it doesn't. And if I can show it doesn't, I don't care what you say it does. That's an interpretation that's not there, contradicted by the evidence. That's all you guys have. That's all this guy's ever had. And he's terrible with it. Look at him.
His Jewish listeners appear to have known full well what he was saying. They immediately pick up stones to execute him for blasphemy. Now watch here.
Okay, and I have tons of videos on this. He's never answered my unanswerables video. He's a chicken. Very clear that in the account that he's running from right now, instead of going to it like on Bible Hub, we can do it, but I've done so many times, right? So easy. Jesus goes on to explain. They pick up stones to stone him. He says, why are you stoning me? They said, well, because you, though being a man, make yourself theos. So it's either God, capital G, or a God. A and then lower G usually. He then quotes Psalm 82, where other sons of God are called gods without breaking scripture. Grammatically, it's a first-class conditional sentence that requires that what he says is followed by his evidence, which is exactly what it is, the quotation from Psalm 82, that he says to the Jews, shows he's not blaspheming. Why do you say I'm blaspheming? If he says this, that's what a first-class conditional sentence is. There's no way out, and so he just lies about it and runs like a chicken. Okay, so right there it proves that theos in the singular is the same in this context as theoi in the plural, because Jesus is using that as his evidence to prove he's not blaspheming. Why? Because he's also a son of God, like he says in verse 36. Why do you say I'm blaspheming when I say I'm God's son? Well, you called yourself theos. Well, he calls them theoi. They're sons of God too, and he came against them and he sent me. Right, because the sons of God are gods. Just like we all know who understand the Bible, which would not include him. And he's going to blow it on that very subject in this video.
In one place in John, Jesus claims the name of God for himself.
Okay, so we've already discussed how this is all wrong. He's not dealing with any of the issues. He's just quoting Bart Ehrman and misrepresenting him, right? We already know Bart Ehrman believes that Jesus can be considered God or Yahweh in the sense that he's given his name. This came up in part 1. He was being interviewed, if you watch part 1, Bart Ehrman. And so we showed that from Sam's video. And then we started to get into earlier references from Bart Ehrman that Sam was talking about. So he's just saying right here that Jesus claims the name. I don't agree with him that ego eimi or I am is a divine name. But remember that it definitely, this whole taking the name thing for Bart Ehrman does not equate Jesus with Yahweh. He understands Jesus can be given the name Yahweh. He doesn't believe that equates him though. So he's so out of line with what is actually going on, right? He's just like happy to be looking at something that kind of seems to agree with him and brings up texts like John 8:58, and he can mislead people about I am, right? He's not at all contextualizing Bart Ehrman, neither here nor from the start of his criticism, and he's doing it wrong. He's literally importing it into his own view without explaining, like I just did, Bart Ehrman's view, right? That'd be like, Watchtower quoting a church father source and someone like Bowman saying, yeah, you didn't understand what he was saying when he did it, when you quoted it. That's what he's doing right here, right? Either way, also, what did he do here? He blows, he said something. What did he say? Let me play him again.
The name of God for himself. Again, in another book, Jesus claims the name of God for himself. Again, and
Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Okay, so we already know that's not the case. It's definitely not happening here. I have whole videos on Johnny 58 and elsewhere. And as far as why they went to stone him in that text, it's very clear, like with Stephen in Acts 7, we were just in it for part of it. They stoned him too, just for looking up and saying he saw Jesus at God's right hand. Right? So it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean he's claiming to be God there. Claiming to pre-exist Abraham would be quite enough, especially since Stephen simply expressing faith in Jesus was enough for them to stone him. He wasn't even making a claim other than he saw the one who made the claim that they tried to stone him for making. Either way, that is a big claim, and people forget that and lie about it like he does. So, but what I wanted to point out was this. You see how he's using Bart? This is Bart Ehrman, what we're reading him. This text right here he's reading. Well, allegedly, right? He's giving sources, so we're assuming. We're giving Sam the benefit of the doubt. If it's an error in a quote sense, you should point that out, and I'll bring it up. Either way, some of it's no longer online, and I think I have some of the material he has. But unless it becomes an issue, we'll accept it on its face. So he's quoting Bart Ehrman. And if you saw part one, you saw he severely in Sam's video that we're watching right now, he's severely, like harshly, okay? And for Sam, that's easy, but this was like notably harsh. But he felt he was right. Because Bart Ehrman, in his interview that we played part of yesterday, or in part one, Bart Ehrman says to this woman that he was a little surprised to find out that people believed Jesus was Yahweh or Yahweh. And so Sam and when I heard it, I was a little surprised too. But again, Bart Ehrman is not a theologian or a specialist when it comes to things like the Trinity. It comes up kind of with his stuff because of certain texts that have a corrupted history that relate to the Trinity, right? Like John 1:18 and others. So he kind of gets lumped in with it, but that's really not his specialty. And I'm not totally covering for him because, quite honestly, if he did go through a graduate school in any kind of theological field or related field, it's hard for me to understand how he couldn't have known that on some level. But then I realized he could be talking about it in a way that just doesn't see Jesus Jesus being God is the same as being this equal with Yahweh. So I explained in part one that one view that was prevalent during the first century with Jews like Philo, who actually have Middle Platonic ideas similar to the orthopagans in Trinitarianism, which later what it becomes or is used with, who conceptualize terms like God as totally different in terms of its reference than to the beyond all God, which even in Middle Platonists who don't use God, a name for God, even though they know it's in the Bible, like Philo, that would be who it is, okay? So for someone like Bart Ehrman, he would be probably, again, it's hard to say. I'd have to have more context to know, but if he did mean something like that, that would fit. That he actually just doesn't see Jesus as equaling Yahweh, the beyond all God, that many Middle Platonists also agreed with. Justin Martyr, being a Christian Middle Platonist, had a similar view, but that he could still be equated with God in other ways, and spoken of as both with God and God, the way he understands John 1:1. Bart Ehrman in this case. We reviewed it in part one. So Sam doesn't understand or explain any of this. He just goes in attack mode, seizes on certain quotes, and misunderstands and misrepresents Bart Ehrman like we've been talking about. Let's go back to him and see if we can take it anymore.
Another book? Another writing? Another book? Another writing? Really? Saying to his Jewish interlocutors, before Abraham was, I am, John 8:58. Abraham, who lived 1,800 years earlier, was the father of Jews, and Jesus claimed to have existed before him. But he's claiming more than that. He's referring to a passage in the Hebrew scriptures where God appears to Moses at the burning bush and commissions him to go to Pharaoh.
Who appears to him in the burning bush, Sam? Is it God or is it an angel? Because you know it's an angel and I know it's an angel. Whether Bart Ehrman does or not, you don't bring it up here or there. And that's what it is. So it's actually, if anything, Sam, Bart Ehrman could just not realize that, or think that Jesus is just the angel there speaking as I am. No matter what, it's the angel talking. So the angel is saying, I am. This is exactly where you guys fail. Every single thing in Exodus 3 is the angel. That God is not like also there or anywhere else speaking outside of that angel in Exodus 3. That's so stupid, right? We just saw how Acts 7 interpreted it. Nothing indicates anything like that. It doesn't say anyone else showed up or started talking. It just says the angel was there and that the Lord started talking. Yahweh started talking. That means the angel is speaking for and as God. Not that it's God or that God is actually there. That shows how stupid you are, right? This is where you guys just go off the rails with this naive, limited ability to conceptualize what the Bible's telling you. It's not telling you what you bring to it from later centuries. It's just telling you what it's telling you. That's it. An angel's there talking for God. That's it. Yeah, there is nothing else, Sam. There's no uncreated thing. There's no second, third person of a Trinity thing. It's an angel speaking for and as God, period. That's the only things you can derive from those accounts. Just like in Isaiah, when Isaiah does the very same thing. And in Exodus 3, it literally tells us, in Exodus 3 and Acts 7, it's an angel. Yes, the angel of the Lord, an angel, the angel. Those are the three descriptions. They're all the same. Right, because an angel of the Lord, the angel of the Lord, is just one of the angels that's from the Lord, right? That's what that means. There's nothing special about it or unique, unless it's just he only uses a limited number of them. And on occasions, that appears to be the case. And in fact, that disproves your doctrine. Because according to Daniel, the only other one with Gabriel is Michael. There is no other angel of the Lord, because those are the angels of the Lord. The angels spoken of later in the book of Acts, and one of them being the prince of the army of Yahweh. So that's it, my friend. Everything else is addition, fake, a fraud, or you failing again to understand people like Bart Ehrman, and then lying about it to everyone else, right? It's despicable.
And seek the release of his people. Moses asked God what God's name is so they can inform his fellow Israelites which divinity has sent him. God replied.
Okay, so he does a little thing there, but let's just keep going.
I am who I am. Say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. Exodus 3:14. Now watch. So when Jesus says I am, in John 8:58, he is claiming the divine name for himself.
Okay, so again, he's been spending like the last, 20 minutes or so of his session on this, saying basically the exact same thing over and over again, but not presenting any arguments other than the typical misrepresentation of what I am means and what it stands for and how it's being used. So again, all Sam's doing here is we assume he's correctly quoting Bart Ehrman, in which case it would be him doing what Sam did, not understanding he's only looking at verse 14. This doesn't look correct there, though. Or actually, right, it doesn't even quote the part where it says, "This is my name." It doesn't even quote verse 15 right here, if he's quoting it correctly, right? Because according to the bold part, if we assume Sam has represented this correctly, and the bold part follows immediately after Exodus 3:14 and Bart Ehrman's thing. See what I'm saying? If all that's correct, then Exodus 3:15, which actually contains God giving his name and saying, "This is my name," after breaking from verse 14 where it says, "I am has sent me," and "I am" is not correct. It's not a name and it's not used that way. We explained it. But even then, right, the breaks I just said and how it's described in verse 15, none of that's here. And this guy doesn't mention any of that. He just lets it go and pretends that, yeah, Bart Ehrman is killing it. Bart Ehrman's great now, huh, Sam? Because he agrees with you. Even though earlier in this very same video, this guy annihilated Bart Ehrman because Bart Ehrman claimed he didn't know Trinitarians believe Jesus is Yahweh. All of a sudden, though, Bart Ehrman is an authority for Sam, right? Bart Ehrman goes from not knowing the most basic thing of all related to this issue to like having the best insight that, hey, look at this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We'll save it for another time. There's so much we have with him, right? We don't need to do it all in every video. Okay, so as you can see, hypocrisy on steroids and cow dung.
Here again, his Jewish hearers had no trouble understanding his meaning. Once more out come the stones.
I've already explained this. I just explained a minute ago, and I actually am going to put up a clip because you guys always miss this, and it's no surprise Bart Ehrman missed this because everybody always simply fails to understand what it means to blaspheme, but what to incur the wrath of the Jews in the New Testament. And as I just explained in Acts 7, it's very obvious it would take anything that basically went against their view of religious issues in a way that they felt offended by. And if you can't see that in John 8 or Acts 7 and why they're stoning both of them apart from claiming to be God, you don't want to see it, right? Because it's right there. Jesus is claiming to pre-exist their patriarch, Abraham, their father. That's more than enough, right? They don't see him as Messiah or pre-existing their forefather, right? You don't think that would be enough, huh? So incredible, man. So it's clearly enough in Acts 7, right? All Stephen has to do is tell him what he believes he's seen in heaven, and they're like, kill him, right? What'd you say? And you don't think someone claiming to pre-exist their forefather Abraham, though appearing to be a human demoniac to them, would incur their wrath? Yeah, let's just listen to Sam. What would we do without Sam Shamoun, right? We would make a lot of progress is what we would do.
This is another book. Jesus Interrupted, revealing the contradiction in the Bible, pages 79-80. Can this guy keep his lies straight?
If you're talking about yourself, the answer is no. If you're talking about Bart Ehrman, well, you have been totally you haven't understood almost anything he said about Jesus having God's name and what that means. You've totally misrepresented what he said about that, how he understood Jesus had God's name, but that didn't equate him with Yahweh, which you then go on to try to use him to say is the case when that's clearly what he meant, right? Just like you fail with everything else in Exodus 3 and who's talking right there. So it's just you don't have the capability, Sam. You're not even qualified again for anything, right? You really should just be in a hospital. But we'll go ahead and continue because you've been promoted by really bad people in desperate groups to help their lies continue. And you are good at that. So we have to snuff all that out. We'll just erase it from existence and vaporize it, right? No one will ever remember it after we're done.
Now let's go to part 2.
Okay, and right before we do that, let me check. Let me check, you guys. It could be insanity, right? Let's make sure. Let's double check. Things happen. um, someone join. Trinity 1096. Clean. You like my clean shirt today? And you want to know how you can join our cult? It's real simple. You have to base your beliefs on the best available evidence, and you have to believe at least three things: one God the Father, Yahweh; one Lord Jesus Christ, sent forth Savior from heaven; Messiah, foretold, based on the best available evidence dated before he was born and fulfilled uniquely in him, corroborated by historical evidence. Not something we think we can prove, but prove just as well, if not better, than anything else you believe from history. So it's enough. And those things just aren't foretold like that with anyone else. So there's some uniqueness going on here that deserves attention. So God, Jesus, and then the golden rule, Trinity 1096. Do you know what the golden rule is? That's it. So be a good person, okay? And now you are creating a little division there. So, and you should already know this, Trinity 1096. Not hard to find. It's literally part of the channel's description, right? So there's really no excuse. But you were here yesterday and kind of funny. And even though you're a little abrasive, it could be Sam, we'll go with it, right? We'll go with it. Cato! Cato is here. Now he's... Well, Cato's... He's fine. Hopefully he'll be all right. He's Trinitarian. You know, we have people that come. He's been here before, and we try to let people say what they got to say. But ban if they go insane, which happens, right? A lot, especially when we're talking about Sam. But we've gotten most of them though, right? So, but we always check to make sure. Let's see. There's a lot of interesting things. Okay, all right, Trinity 96. Well, I'll try to help your joint pain. I can do it. Ronnie Clacklar. Okay, good. At least see. And we like to hear opposing. Again, we're not opposed to differing views. It's actually, I think, a good thing, unless you're just gone. But when we talk about Sam and some of these ortho people, I'm not talking about every one of them. I'm talking about usually pretty specific ones, and I think I named them. And Sam is, of course, the feature. He attacked Bart Ehrman, and I'm not here to defend Bart Ehrman beyond exposing Sam. And I think Bart Ehrman has done some things that are decent, some things that are not. So again, it's more neutral to me, but it's Sam, right? We have to expose him for his abuse, right, and lies, because we don't want people thinking he represents in any way a Christian option, okay? I don't care if you go to the Catholics, Orthos, or Sam cannot be an option, okay? You guys made him one, so and a lot of you are having a hard time undoing it. But I'm going to keep trying. I'm not going to stop. I know him better than most people. So I am the right person to help continue with others, hopefully, what has to be done, right? Just to recover some semblance of sanity in the Christian YouTube online environment, because he's destroyed it. He really has. He's really made it a filthy environment, like his apartment, right? And his monitor, which he wiped on his beard the other day. It's all bad. And it's just a continuation, right? The abuse. I don't want to go back over it again, but he is our subject tonight, though. But let's try to focus on the more dignified side, right? That even though he's attacking grotesquely, right? We'll try.
So according to Ehrman, John depicts Jesus as eternal being, has always possessed God's name, and has always been equal to God the Father. All right. But didn't he say Jesus is not Yahweh?
I don't think that summary was accurate. So according to Ehrman, John, I think what he said was that Jesus was a pre-existing being who was with God, who was God, and who could be given God's name and thereby identified with Yahweh. but not equal with Yahweh. He also said he was a pre-existent being like an angel. None of that is here. Eternal being? Capital, I don't know. What are you doing there? That's not what he said. And he didn't say he's always been equal to God the Father. He made comments about him being equal with God in a sense that wasn't the same as him being equal with Yahweh. So if that's what you mean there, okay, but that's not how you presented this. You took issue with him literally making the statement, Jesus is not equal with Yahweh, as equivalent to Jesus is equal with God, which to Bart Ehrman is not the same as he explained, and as you totally misunderstood and misrepresented, and as even I offered an expanded, contextually related or appropriate understanding of what he could be talking about. It's just, again, we're on the lowest level of dung.
Father. All right. But didn't he say Jesus is not Yahweh?
He said he's not equal to Yahweh. But this, in general, basically he said, without having to go all the way back, right? We saw in part 1, Jesus is not equal with Yahweh, but could be given his name, and in that sense identified as Yahweh. So I don't know why you're confused at this point. Which is essentially true, right? That's what we see. That's literally what Isaiah 43:7 says. That God calls others whom he creates by his name for his glory. That's it. That the explicit meaning and the clear, plain meaning of that text is exactly what we see happening in Philippians 2 and elsewhere, that Paul literally quotes from a couple chapters after Isaiah 43. So we know he knows it. The idea that Isaiah 43:7 is in no way related to someone being given God's name for his glory, related to Isaiah 45 in Philippians 2, is just so low level and lame.
Mario, you know what the topic is, right? Trinity? Didn't he say Jesus is not Yahweh? Right? But then if Jesus has the name of the God of Exodus 3, and he's always had it, how in the world is he saying he's not Yahweh?
I just explained that, and he even explained it to you, but you've gotten so far from reality at this point, I can see there's no hope for you getting back. It also says that the angel is the one who spoke. So he also says Jesus is a pre-existent angelic being. So he could also be saying Jesus is that angel who speaks God's name. And so therefore has God's name like Jesus has God's name in the New Testament without being equated with Yahweh. That was his key point. And then the other things he was trying to explain how it could be still the case that he's called by the name or identified as God, but not be equal with Yahweh. He was very clear about that, Sam. Okay, you just keep confusing everything by reading statements from him out of context and then acting like he's contradicting himself when you're just stupid, right? You're just literally not capable of figuring this out, even though he's explaining it to you. So you're just looking for statements you can twist in ways that make sense to you and how, with your limited understanding, you interpret what he says. So, there's a lot of problem. That's why you talking about people like this, and why it wouldn't matter. Pretty much everything you do, whether it's about me, Bart Ehrman, others, you have this same limitation where you just, again, every time you use the word God, my friend, you're wrong. Every single time, unless you're talking about a false God in the New Testament, maybe there you're okay. But I mean, you're just so far off of what you can defend, right? You literally believe in an uncreated angel that you've never defined or defended. Just some stupid alleged connection with what we already know is true and that created beings do, and that is speak for and as God, even with his name, which prove it's not their name, right? That's what angels do. They speak God's words. Exodus 23, Jesus in the New Testament, they're not themselves. They're God. They're speaking God. They're representing God in the exact ways that we see all throughout the Bible. You just deny it and read later understandings into these narrative styles and claim that's what they're talking about. No, It's as simple as that. No, we won't let you just add to the text an understanding that's not present. So you can keep trying, but it's so easy to refute you. That's why you just keep lying.
Now watch part 2, Philippians 2:9-11. Remember that?
Yeah, you mean the one where someone dies and then is raised up and given a name they didn't have before to some other God's glory? Yeah, that's a great account. And it shows that that's totally different from Isaiah 45, even though related to it, and that Paul's using language from it, so very clearly aware of Isaiah 43, and fulfilling what Isaiah 43:7 says about people being called by God's name for his glory. After being created, which Jesus was, as he was resurrected from the dead as the firstborn. When he died, his spirit went back to the God who gave it, which according to Psalms, he sends forth when they're created. And when they die, it goes back to him, just like Jesus said. So guess what, Sam? Yeah, Jesus actually died just like humans. And just like he said, his spirit went back to God. His God then recreated him as the firstborn from the dead and gave his spirit, that went back to him, a spiritual body. Right, because otherwise he'd be naked, like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, whole video about it, no response from you. It's just a recurring pattern and theme, huh? Do you ever listen? Do you ever learn? No times two.
Okay, let's read the hymn. Now I'm using his favorite Bible version. Liberals love the New Revised Standard Version. They love this translation. They love it. Mr. Anna, good to see you, my brother.
Okay, so he's getting into Philippians 2 now. And this kind of ties in with the whole name of God issue that we've been talking about since part 1, related to other texts, but now we're getting to Philippians 2. So everything I just said, building up to it, related to Isaiah 45, that's quoted in Philippians 2 in part, but applied in a totally different way, right? Gone. Let's see what he does.
Anna Martin, God bless you, sister. Keep praying for me. I hope LaPont, everyone else knows when I'm not here, go to Rumble.
Hang on one second. I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right back. Okay, thank you for your patience. What we'll do, we'll do this Philippians 2 part. He's going to read right now. And then we'll cut it there. I'll be back tomorrow for another live show. Probably part 2 of the other related series we're doing that I started yesterday. Or part 3 on this one. Maybe if I can finish it off in 3 parts, we'll just finish this off and then go to the other one and finish that off. Either way, I will be back tomorrow for another live. But let's go ahead and just do a few more minutes. Let me bring him up here. Well, we'll do it, we'll let him kind of get into this Philippians 2 part. Maybe he won't. We'll see how long he spends on it and how long we spend, responding, right? Okay. Okay. So let's let him get into this Philippians 2 thing, okay? I'm going to let him talk a little bit so he can get his full point across.
God bless you, brother. Come up right after I'm finished. I'll tell you to come up. No! Where you been, brother? I thought you abandoned me too. Shoot. May God preserve you from all cult followers, and you love Jesus. Worship him. No! Yeah, watch the beginning, because David Woods cult got me a strike. They're trying to delete my channel, but go watch the beginning. No! Rumble. You see why Rumble's still the best? Mr. Hanna, everyone? He's on both. No! All right. Let this in. This is Philippians 2, 5-11. Mind been you that was in Christ Jesus. I wish I had Pepsi Zero, dude. That's what happens when you're alone. Hey, Kat, can you go get me some? You guys enjoying it? Because I'm enjoying and sharing with you. You are a blessing to me. I love you guys. Quality over quantity. It is a blessing for me to come, share this information, because not only is the Spirit using me to strengthen you, to have no doubt our God lives. Jesus is Lord. He's Almighty. We will live forever. Death is not the end of us. But it reminds me of the truths of Scripture to strengthen me, because I'm flesh and sinful. I need to be strengthened. Lord bless you and love you and all of us and my daughters, your loved ones. All right. Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to exploit it, but emptied himself. Okay? Taking the form of a slave, being born in human likeness, and being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore God also highly exalted him, gave him the name that is above every name. This is the part that he was mentioning in that session. Watch what Bart Ehrman says about this. Is going to blow you away. And I even use him to destroy Islam. Therefore God also highly exalted him, gave him the name that is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee should bend, in heaven, on earth, under the earth. Every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Now get ready to stand in awe of what he says about Philippians 2. Ash David, look what he says. Bart Ehrman, page 259. Look what he says. Some scholars have had a real difficulty imagining that a poem existing before Paul's letters to the Philippians. He believes this is a poem that Paul included. A poem whose composition must therefore be dated as early as the 40s Christian era. Damn, Gina could already celebrate an incarnational understanding of Jesus. My brothers, use this man to glorify Jesus Christ, glorify the triune God, show the historical facts proving your faith. He just told you. I want you to listen. He admitted less than 10 years, if our Lord was crucified 36 AD. So I believe he was crucified later. Less than 10 years.
No, you misunderstood and misrepresented him again. Look, everybody, can you see very clearly what Bart Ehrman says? I'll remove myself so it's more clear. It says a poem whose composition must therefore date as early as the 40s meaning 40 through 49 as early. So that's the earliest. It could be from as early as the 40s, meaning somewhere from 40 to 49 up to somewhere else, right? Sam, the fact that you couldn't even interpret this correctly proves what I've been saying the whole time. You are just not technically qualified for a lot of this stuff. You're a good arguer, and you do create difficulties for people for in some like stupid ways, right? Because you don't listen, and you're belligerent, and you have a mental problem. So you just throw yourself in any discussion or argument, and people are just sick of you, and you just keep arguing. And if you happen to know anything about it, right, game over. Right? It's not a productive thing you have. It's just this defect that people misperceive as a skill. This right here shows how stupid you are. You just said that Bart Ehrman's telling us that the letter of the Philippians to the Philippians is less than 10 years from when Jesus was resurrected. Or we'll go back to killed or resurrected. One of the two you said. That's not what he said. He says it's dated to as early as, meaning from 40 or up to 49 to another date. So maybe to like 60, 70, or even later potentially, right? So you literally don't seem to understand that there's a 10-year reference there with the 40 and the S. And you seem to think like that's the only date marker, right? That's just the start of the period it could be from, Sam. So, it makes me kind of question why I spend time with you at all. But then I remember all the things you've done and said about people, including my mother, in horrific ways, and just the overall bad person you are to your daughters and everybody else, and slander people like God Logic who actually go out of their way to try to be good to you, even though they shouldn't. That still isn't enough for you, is it? It's never enough for you. And yet, you're really not qualified for any of this stuff. That's what's so incredible.
These are the eyewitnesses: Peter, James, John, Thomas, the Jews, thousands still alive, who knew Jesus, saw Jesus. Less than 10 years, his followers are writing a poem celebrating that Jesus...
He's not only yelling, of course, screeching cow, but he just said it again. That was written less than 10 years from Jesus.
...is the human incarnation, the human enfleshment of a divine being. And he's going to tell you which divine being. Less than 10 years, Jews are glorifying the man Jesus, a fellow Jew, as the human enfleshment of a divine being, that a divine being became the man Jesus. Which divine being? And he just told you, Paul didn't make it up.
Okay, maybe he's referring to something else. Let's let him finish.
Paul didn't make it up. Paul taught this, learned this,
Does anyone have any idea why he talks like this? Right? Why is he shouting like this? Dude, you're not in an auditorium. You're not in a stadium. You're not in a room of people like, a banquet room or something. You're just alone in one room. There's no need to be shouting incoherently and without any real purpose for emphasis the way you do. No consistent purpose. This is terrible. You can't talk, you can't interpret, you can't get a job, you can't masturbate, you can't grow any hair, you can't lose weight, you can't take care of your daughters, you can't keep your ex-wife from going to different men instead of coming back to you. Now she doesn't even want her daughters anymore, because once you go that far away from the source of the daughters, it's pretty much over, Sam. So they will probably come back to you. You're not fit for them. You can't even interpret basic words on a screen. So all we have to look forward to you from this point forward is child abuse.
Paul learned this from the eyewitnesses. See that, Rumble? God bless you, Extra Crispy. See that? But which divine being became the man Jesus? Get ready to be in shock. See why I like Bart? I love to meet him. I hope he won't get offended at me. Here it is. Who?
Why would he ever do that, Sam? Right? He doesn't even seem to understand he doesn't understand the consequences of anything. That's why he shouldn't be doing anything like this. Yet no one can stop him. So it's not excusable. There's blame to be passed around here.
Who is the divine being that became the man Jesus? Okay. Here it is. He believes the Apostle Paul taught that Christ is the angel of Yahweh who became man. He believes, Paul believed, and Paul learned this from others. The angel of Yahweh of the Old Testament became Jesus. Jesus is the angel of Yahweh who became man. Believe that?
Okay, and we believe that too. So, or at least I do, right? Again, there's more than one angel in the Old Testament doing these things, but I do believe Jesus is the primary one that was appointed in Exodus 23 to speak God's words and render his judgment with God's name. It's not his name. He's an angel created by God, but they speak for and as God, as we just saw in Exodus 3 and Acts 7, right? And all over the place. So he's just stupid. They just don't understand the Bible. They never have. They've always looked to these later people, these later beyond the apostles people. That's why I just go to Acts 7, right? And this whole account here in 1 Corinthians 10 that they're referencing, I referenced earlier, and I agree with that as well. But when Sam says Jesus is the angel of the Lord, in this way, whether he's talking in the context of Bart Ehrman or whatever, he's already assuming the Trinity, okay? So, see, for Sam, there isn't any other kind of angel of the Lord, right? We even have this problem with him and this one Christian woman who showed that she's superior to him because he made a really dumb argument and she exposed him about Jesus and his own angel of the Lord. Either way, you can just look up Lady True or Sam Shamoun at my channel if you want to see it. He actually also stalked her on Facebook because he got so embarrassed by being shown up by a woman. Right? He's a pervert. And he had, well, either way, let's move on. But it is about him, so okay. So when Sam, everything I was saying earlier about, like, I kind of already explained, but just remember, for Sam, what the Bible teaches about angels doesn't matter. Right? It literally has no impact. So when Psalm 104 and Hebrews 1 refer to them as created spirits, has no impact on him. Okay? He just says, yeah, those are created angels, but this one isn't. Okay? Even though in Hebrews 1, it's literally referring to those created angels by quoting Psalm 104 as all the angels that appeared as flames of fire in the Old Testament, which, guess what? Includes the very angel of the Lord we've been talking about from Exodus 3 that appeared in the fire of the burning bush. Right? So this is why dealing with Sam and others is really pointless at the end of the day. They don't learn, they don't listen, and they're stupid.
Hold on, Mario, you better wait. Let me go off camera. You guys understand? Here it is.
Yes, we understand fully, but you're just assuming things that aren't taught, so your understanding, right, is the problem.
What did Paul teach? Third, and possibly most importantly from other passages in Paul, it does indeed appear that he understands Christ to have been a pre-existent divine being. Who? One example comes from a very peculiar passage in 1 Corinthians, the ones we've cited hundreds of times, okay?
Okay, and we're probably going to get back to Philippians 2. He talks about that more, but apparently he started there, but he's going to come back to it, I believe, because he does talk about it more. So after he's done, we'll wrap it up here with this 1 Corinthians 10:4 discussion with Ehrman and him, and then we'll start probably is what's going to be the rest of the Philippians 2 next time. But either way, let's finish up with this section. And then that should put us close to the 2-hour mark, or within the 1 hour, hour and a half to 2 hours. We want to keep this series. I don't want to have them every series and every video where we have like, especially the more focused breakdowns of like actual material instead of kind of the more non scholarly oriented discussions. I want to kind of keep these within, like I said, 2 hours if possible. It'll just be better overall. So let's keep going, see what he says.
In which Paul is talking about how the children of Israel, after they escaped from Egypt under Moses, were fed while they spent so many years in the wilderness. As recounted in the books of Exodus. Now remember these details for what he's going to be claiming. And the next question he answers, when she asks him, was Jesus with Yahweh from the beginning? Right? Because he's admitting to you, the Jews who wrote these books of the New Testament, the Jews who follow Jesus.
Now you notice Sam's been kind of off camera for a little bit. It's always a concern with him. And the reason is, and you know, I got to explain this because many of you may not know. And I'm not kidding. This, you know, we have a little fun with Sam every now and then outside of these more, you know, detail and fact oriented videos. Fact discussion, you know, this more, like I said, a little bit more scholarly oriented, where we deal more with the issues and the people or the related aspects of our interactions, right? With Sam, there's a big field for that. But you notice he's been not visible, right? He doesn't usually tell us why, but Sam has certain problems, okay? So if you ever wonder what it could be, use your imagination, right?
Believe Jesus had been there from the beginning with Yahweh, meaning the Father. Keep that in mind, please. Keep that in mind.
What's he doing?
Hold on, guys. My daughters. God bless me with the two most beautiful girls. Pray I'm healthy enough to see them grow up. I see them in love with Jesus. The sweetest, most humble girls. I'm not just saying it because they're my daughters. And pray God will provide for me for them because I'm fighting for them.
That's not true. If you were fighting for them, Sam, you would be out working and doing what normal people do so that their families can have more and be more together. And you wouldn't be able to get up every day and lie as much. That's true. But that's kind of the idea, you know. You know how you have your daughters with you right now, but you couldn't stop doing a 4 hour and 10-minute live stream? Right. This is in addition to the 3+ hour live stream you did the other day while they were being indoctrinated by Marvel. So it's just never really easy with him. And these lies he does to try to get people to feel sorry for him. That's why I had to say this. This is all lies. If a person if he really cared as much as he did, he would not do this as much. He would stop masturbating and get a job, and then just do this maybe, every other day or every third day or every weekend, right? He doesn't. This is all repeat. This is all base level, bottom of the barrel. Anyone can do it stuff, So why is anyone empowering him not to be a regular person? You're literally enabling him to just keep saying the same thing over and over again while his daughters suffer. Those of you that support him, you're not making it so he's with them more. He's with them right now, right? So what do you mean? If he was with them and just was with them, and then after he's done with them, he came back to his lives, that would be one thing, right? Then it would be more believable that he really wants to be with them. Like he's breaking this discussion up right now to tell us they're his angels, that he cares for them so much, and yet nothing shows that other than what he says, right? Just like Jesus says, they say, but they do not do. But he keeps trying to make you feel bad for him when all he's doing is being a bad person, right? That's it.
That's what I'm fighting for, these lies for them.
What, you mean the lies about you that aren't lies but are the truth? That have nothing to do with them except when you bring them into what you're doing instead of trying to keep them away from it, right? You literally interview them live to help you look better and to fight off other people's accusations when the other party isn't present. You literally abuse your kids for your own benefit while you're supposed to be talking about God. Right? This is why you have to be dealt with, right? You are the worst possible example of everything related to anything someone like me and others like me care about. You're not someone who can be avoided and just brushed off as a big dork. You're a dangerous kook who only cares about himself in spite or despite his own kids, that you use as human shields, all while lying to them and everybody else.
But the Lord fight for them, right?
He's been trying to keep them from you, and every time they're with you, you abuse them. So don't blame him, okay?
Now watch. Watch here. Let's continue.
Looks like he just finished his whack-off session. Let's see if he's got anything else to add before we wrap it up.
Look what it says here. Keep going. We're going to have a lot of meat discussing Ehrman.
I hope so, because so far, again, it's been just, again, this is one why I had to do this, because it was one of the worst I've ever seen from him. He literally goes over all the same bad stuff. He criticizes Bart Ehrman in some of the most horrible ways and then turns right around in the same video and cites him as an authority and is all pumped up to do so. So which is it? Is Bart Ehrman a citable authority or is he a joke? You can't be both, fatso, unless you're going to explain why he's not a joke here, but he's a joke here. Neither one of which you've done correctly, and the one that you're trying to use him for here, you haven't explained at all. You're just quoting him and then whacking off about it.
Because I'll do a couple sentences until I can go into Jude and other books, but hold on.
Right, the books we've already gone through numerous times. We're going to go through again with you and expose you again because you have nothing new and you've never responded to anything we've done. So it's just more wasted time away from your daughters.
I have customers. All right. So who is Christ? Paul is talking about how the children of Israel, after they escaped from Egypt under Moses, were fed while they spent so many years in the wilderness. as recounted in the books of Exodus and Numbers in the Hebrew Bible. According to Paul, the Israelites had enough to drink because the rock that Moses struck in order miraculously to bring forth water followed them around the wilderness. Well, it's also in Exodus 17. He doesn't mention it. Wherever they went, the water-providing rock went. In fact, Paul says the rock was Christ. See? Look what he says.
We all know this. This isn't controversial. He's like acting like this is new, or I don't even understand what's happening, right? Why is this? There's nothing, you're not criticizing him here. He's just pointing out what everyone basically knows, most people, that he's that angel. And he doesn't view it the same way you do. You're just acting like he does here, but not here, and contradicting himself. When it's really you that's just misinterpreting him, misunderstanding him, misrepresenting him the whole time. That's all it is, right?
Just as Christ provides life to people today when they believe in him, so too he provided life to the Israelites in the wilderness. That would not.
Right, because the Father first gave him life, John 5:26. Just as the Father gave life in me, in myself, he that feeds on me will also live because of me. Or he'll give others people life as well, the life he was given. You can't be eternal and be given life. There's just life. There's not like there's different types of existence, but life is just life. You either have it or you don't. And if you're eternal, existing with the Father, and you have to be given life, that's not you being eternal with the Father. That's the Father being eternal, giving you life, making you not eternal, because you just got life, unlike the Father who already had it. One of the easiest texts in the Bible, he misses that one as well, and it's one of the worst, right? He just lies.
Not have been possible, of course, unless he existed at the time. And so for Paul, Christ was the pre-existent.
I mean, he's blowing my brain apart, right? Not in the way that he's being blown apart, but I'm talking the sound waves, right? Just the shock of his intonation, right? His screeching, out of sequence, out of rhythm, just pulsating voice, right? Just irresistible horror. And you know it's got, at this point, it's like, I know it's coming. And it just then it just boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh, got hit with 5, and I was thinking it was just going to be 1. Okay, let's just give him a little bit more, and I'm done. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll keep going, but we're going to keep this one small by design and get, based on the screeching, that's a good thing.
Being, Lord, loosen my tongue, strengthen my throat for your glory, who is occasionally manifest on earth. Or take another passage, one in which Paul actually does speak of Christ as a second Adam. In 1 Corinthians, Paul contrasts Christ's place of origin with that of Adam. The first man was from the earth and was made of dust. The second man is from heaven. What matters here is precisely the difference between Adam and Christ. Adam came into being in this world. Christ existed before he came into this world. Wow.
Okay, and in here, I don't think that's actually a correct interpretation of 1 Corinthians 15:47. Let's go to that and we'll end with this, because he's so stupid he doesn't realize it anyway. And he then tries to misuse it in relation. You can see he's coming into Philippians 2 again. So this is a perfect segment. Let's actually just let him say a little bit more real quick.
Oh, he was from heaven. Wow. And so the interpretation of...
Okay, so we'll pick up there tomorrow, the next day, depending on which one we do tomorrow, with and so the interpretation. That will take us right to Philippians 2. But right before that, he quoted Ehrman on 1 Corinthians 15:47, and he talks about this more later too, as we'll get to, once he gets into Philippians 2 more. But he tries to say that, like Ehrman kind of appears to, I guess, that text, 1 Corinthians 15:47, is talking about Jesus, like before he became a man. Like he came out of heaven and became a man. That's not what that's talking about, Sam. You're so stupid. Okay, let's go to 1 Corinthians 15. I have a whole video on this. He's so gone, right, when it comes to this stuff. Again, he lacks a lot. He lacks a lot. So we have someone here, Don Wagner, who's gone insane. We will promptly remove him for just going berserk over all kinds of weird stuff, right? Jeez, man. Do you guys have a life? What's going on there, dude? Anyway, 1 Corinthians 15. Let me bring you guys up. I'll bring myself back in a minute. 1 Corinthians 15. We'll end with this and then pick up with him in Philippians 2. Probably tomorrow. Again, if we do the other video, part 2, then fine. But let's look at the NASB real quick. We'll start there. Okay, again, I have a whole video, a detailed discussion of this whole chapter, or most of it. So all you have to do is type in 1 Corinthians 15 in my channel. It'll come right up. I'll be happy to hear any comments. It's real. I go through everything. So let me know what you think if you disagree, and be sure to have good evidence. Okay, so right here. Okay, so as we can see, this whole discussion is about the resurrection. It's not about the incarnation, Sam. Right? Bart Ehrman is not a theologian. You literally called him a joke for that reason and what he said prior to trying to misuse him for your own selfishness because you're stupid. And you don't really care how you look, so you'll contradict yourself and not care, right? Anyway, as normal people can see, Sam, this is all about this. You understand? No, of course you don't, but it's so obvious, right? Literally, how are the dead raised with what kind of body? So it's talking about the dead being raised. That's it, Sam. It's not talking about him coming down to the earth as a man. Yeah, that's Philippians 2. We're going to get into that in the next part, even more so. That's not what 1 Corinthians 15:47 is talking about, as I'm going to show you. So how are the dead to be raised? What sort of body? Fool, that which you sow does not come to life unless first it dies. That which you sow not the body which is to be. Like I told you guys earlier. When the spirit goes back to the God who gave it, it's naked. It's a bare grain, perhaps of wheat or of something else, depending on what kind of, he's using an analogy. Right? So our spirit goes back to God. All spirit goes back to the God who gave it. But God gives it a body, whether it's spirit of animals, of humans, or his son when he came to the earth. It's not what this is talking about, though, because it's talking about the resurrection. God gives it a body. He's talking about sowing in death. He's not talking about a living being coming down to the earth. God gives it a body, and to each of the seeds its own body. There is no person without a nature. The body is the nature. That's why it's a spiritual body, spirit, or a physical body, flesh. All of this is easy, and apart from all your guys' pagan traditions, not hard at all. All flesh is not the same. There's one flesh of man, another flesh of animals, another flesh of birds, another flesh of fish. There are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. The glory of the heavenly is one, glory of the earthly is another. He's giving examples of different types of bodies that God gives to seeds that die. What comes to life after it dies. There's one glory of the sun, another of the moon, another of the stars. Stars differ from stars, for star differs from star in glory. Verse 42, so also is the resurrection of the dead. The subject has not changed, Sam. It's not talking about him coming down to the earth out of heaven. It's talking about him coming out of heaven after his spirit went back to God when he died and God gave it a body. And then he went and appeared to the spirits in prison, like Peter says, before coming to the earth, raising up his physical body and appearing in it to many before ascending to the Father and giving it in sacrifice. Hebrews 10. It's all very simple and straightforward when you don't have all these weeds and traditions in your way. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It's sown a perishable body. That's a physical body. It's raised an imperishable body. That's a spirit body. It's sown in dishonor. That's a physical body. It's raised in glory. That's a spirit body. It's sown in weakness. That's a physical body. It's raised in power. Spirit body. It's sown a natural body. Physical body. It's raised a spirit body. If there is a natural body, Sam, there is a spiritual body. So it is written, the first man became a living person. The last Adam, a living, life-giving spirit. The was is not there. It's just the same verb from here carried over and understood there, just like in Hebrews 1. It's very common. This is not correct. I have a whole video on it. Now, Sam, do you understand? The spiritual is not first. In your failed interpretation, it is. You have Jesus being first out of heaven in what you were describing and becoming a man. You've reversed it because you're so stupid, right? Like the way you use your anus. So, Sam, can you just focus for a minute, dude? It's so basic, right? Spiritual is not first, Sam, but the natural. That means what's out of heaven is the second thing, Sam. What's the second thing? Right here. It's sown this, Sam. Then it's raised this. Then this. Right? I mean, do I have to use crayons? Right? So stupid. The first man, oh, who could that be? You mean the one who's named? But that's the second one. That's it right here, I meant. That's the second one. The first man is from the earth. Oh, you mean sown in a natural body? Yeah. Because there's a natural body. And the spiritual's not first, but the natural. Oh, so the first is the man from the earth, Adam. The second man, Sam, is from heaven. What's the second, Sam? Resurrection in a spiritual body. Oh, first became a man, second became a life-giving spirit. So what are you saying? He was created a life-giving spirit out of heaven before he came to the earth? Thank you very much. We win again, right? You just lost, my friend. You literally, in your stupidity and your ignorant understanding, even if consistent with Bart Ehrman, who's not a theologian, you even called him a joke, but he's smarter than you by 10. You're so stupid. You're literally trying to say Jesus is a man out of heaven. That's not a created life-giving spirit. That's how stupid you are. You are so dumb, you don't even realize what's happening. Yes, Sam is talking about the second man, who's the second Adam, who first had to die. Sam, are you not understanding? Unless it dies. Right. So he was a man like the first Adam and then resurrected as this. In your whacked out, just gone misunderstanding, you literally have 3 different phases here for Jesus, right? Or you're just so stupid you don't understand that the man out of heaven is him as a life-giving spirit. And he's the last Adam man who had to die first. It's not saying there's a man in heaven coming out, you idiot. Spirits don't have flesh and blood like you see I have. It literally explicitly calls him that. Life-giving spirit. Game over. Right? Contrasts it with a living physical person with a body of flesh. So there's no way out, Sam. You are simply dumber than most people, and you don't understand that this means he's the last Adam who had to die and be resurrected to become this. He's not becoming a physical man out of the heaven, you idiot. He's literally contrasted with the physical that is first, i.e. Adam, and that he had to become as the last Adam. Sam, did you not see that? You're so stupid that you didn't realize Paul jumps to him right here and picks up with Jesus as the physical last Adam. That's how stupid you are. He gives the first Adam right here as natural physical body that's sown. But he then refers to Jesus as the last Adam in the physical sense, who became a life-giving spirit. That's it. You're just so dumb, you don't understand what second man is in reference to. It's just referring to him in the historical sense in which he was the last Adam, Sam. It's not calling him a man in heaven. That's your idiocy. Like I've proven to you before, numerous times. Last two texts, everybody, because he's so stupid. He keeps bringing up the exact same dumb arguments where because the New Testament refers to Jesus as a man in a historical sense, so like he's really there as a man now, but they're talking about him when he was alive as one. That's how stupid these guys are. They literally think after referring to him in a historical sense as the last Adam who died and became a life-giving spirit, he's talking about Jesus coming out of heaven as a physical man. Yes, he is. He's that stupid and just beyond gone, right? Philippians, 1 Timothy, 2:5. One God, one mediator also between God and man, Jesus Christ. So Sam does the same thing here. He says, see, he's our mediator right now, and he's a man, Greg. Oh, isn't a man physical, Greg? Yeah, about as physical as the food that you eat every day. Because look, it's referring to him in the physical sense in which he existed in the past, dummy. That's how stupid you are. Who gave? What tense is that? What reference is that, fatso? Right. So is he in heaven giving himself as a ransom right now? No, because that's been done once and for all time, hasn't it? Exactly. So this is all referring to him in the past. It doesn't matter if it's still calling him that person, referring to him in what he does now as a mediator. It's because of what he did in the past as a man. That's how stupid you are. And to prove it, we'll use the exact same author to show you he literally disagrees explicitly with your interpretation of his words. Look, Paul, an apostle, not sent from men, nor through human agency, but through Jesus Christ and God the Father, who raised him from the dead. Right there, you have an explicit historical reference to Jesus the man who was raised from the dead, so how he is now, but in the historical sense, Jesus Christ, who was raised, right? He's the one who died. So stupid. Who is not, it says men or humans, or a human agency. We'll go to the Greek in a minute. He's not a man, dipshit. He literally tells you explicitly right here. Then he goes on to say the exact same thing and talk about how cursed you are for your false gospel and your false Jesus and your fake God. I would have you know, brothers and sisters, the gospel which was preached to me by a brilliant flash of light from the heavens that I couldn't even see, it was so bright, is not human, not of human invention. I didn't even receive it from man, nor was I taught it, but I received it through revelation of Jesus Christ. That's the account in Acts, okay, where that literally happened. So, he's not a man, Sam. Let's just go ahead and look at that to prove, like we've already proved, and I'll show one last text to prove to you all again before we end this session of destruction of false doctrine, pagan Orthodox doctrine, pagan Catholic doctrine, and yes, a lot of pagan Protestant doctrine, but mostly just Sam's pagan lies and misrepresentation of all of them and Bart Ehrman. So Sam, right here, I make known for you, brothers, the gospel having been preached by me, that not it is according to man. Not according to a man, Sam. So, no, it's according to Jesus, as he says in the very next verse. Neither I from man. Sam, second time, neither for I from man. Are you retarded? Received it. Okay, so he's not a man. That's explicit. We don't need to read into your stupid failure to understand present narratives referring to historical events, right? So dumb. Nor was he taught it but by revelation of Jesus. So Jesus is who we got it from, Sam. Guess what? That's not a man. No. That's the second time he said it in 2 verses, and you're still too stupid to understand it. One last verse. I have a video on it as well. I may have taken it down back when I was feeling sorry for him because he was getting shredded and he chickened out from a debate that he lied about. So I'll see if I have to put that up again. But Hebrews 5:7 makes it very plain, Sam. Those days are over, pal. There are no more days of his flesh. Hebrews 5:7, he in the days of flesh of him. This is an idiom, everybody. That means it's a figure of speech, meaning it's a way they talked. Okay, I've already pointed out this figure of speech is referring to things that are already done in the past or about things that will be done. It's not talking about things that are continuing in the state now. It's always about something that's not happening right now in that sense. So right here, he's referring, in the days, it's referring to something in the past or in reference to the time specified. It's not happening now. In the days of his flesh, back when he was flesh, meaning he's not flesh anymore. Prayers both and supplications he made to the one able to save him because he was a man, not a God man. He had to pray to God to save him as a man because he wasn't what Sam and all these lying pagan religions tell us he is. He had to pray to the one who was able to save him from death because he couldn't save himself from death because he was a man. He had to cry out with tears, not fake tears like Sam, and offer up those tears. He had to cry out with prayers to God, his God, your God, my God. And he was heard by God because he was in fear of God. Just like Sam and God logic misunderstand Moses in relation to the Christ and wanting to take on the reproach versus the treasures of Egypt, they misunderstand is what's going on here about Jesus, proving he's not who they think that he is. He's not flesh. His appearance in Revelation 1 and 2 should show anyone who's got flesh. He doesn't have it. He literally resembles 99.9% except the lightning versus torches in the eyes, the very same types of beings in the Old Testament. Right, and there's nothing physical at all. There's no bone, blood, flesh. It's fire. It's lightning. It's wool. That's not the body that was resurrected. So that's not flesh. No, flesh and blood can't inherit the kingdom like he did, and that's not an idiom for just being a sinful person. I wrote about that 3 decades ago, no response. I've already dealt with Robert and H. Gundry, Soma and Biblical Theology, no response. Sam is a liar and a pig. All he does is blaspheme and fart of his mouth every day while masturbating when he turns the camera off, while he has his daughters, and stuffs them into an unfurnished room so they can be indoctrinated by Disney. And then maybe open to anal abuse. Who knows? Because he sure did talk about alcohol to the point of last call and being taken home by someone you don't know because you're so blasted and blown out, you don't care anymore, just like him. I hope it's been a good session for you all, right? I hope you've been able to enjoy our ongoing humiliation of this pathetic liar, this person who disrespects our religion and our God all the time, and who gets up here and makes Christianity look like a joke with the way he talks about people like Bart Ehrman, the way he misrepresents what they say, what they mean, and then gives the stupidest arguments himself that have already been refuted, just so we can get up here again and do it all over for what, right? So we can spend time not united doing the things we're supposed to do. That's what. All while he spends his time causing division, tearing down young people like God Logic, who, in spite of my theological differences, has worked his ass off far more than this pig, and has done everything possible to bow down to this fatso and try to give him the credit that he so desperately wants. Guy's gone out of his way more than anyone that I can see, and it's still not enough. It's never enough, because you're dealing with someone who doesn't care about anything or anyone but himself, least of all his daughters, who are right there with him while he's spending multiple hours away from them, arguing about the same things he's already argued about multiple times and that have been refuted multiple times. So what does he really love? His daughters? Or does he love arguing about the same things multiple times? Because of how insecure and shallow he is when it comes to his confidence in what he believes. Yeah, I'll let you decide. That having been said, I'll be back tomorrow for another live show. And either it'll be part 3 of this same, we'll pick up right where we left off with Sam today, about 2.5 hour mark of his video. So maybe we'll see how much we can get through, right? We may have to do like 5-10 parts, who knows? We're going to go through the whole thing, vaporize that video, vaporize the follow-up video. We're already in the process of annihilating a related video. Maybe we'll do part 2 of that tomorrow. But as long as you guys don't mind, and you're going to show up and support it, and you're pumped up about seeing this liar and false teacher exposed, so that people like Bart Ehrman and others don't lump us all together with this pig-faced fatso and think that we're all child-abusing people who don't listen and misinterpret everything because we're so stupid. No, we definitely want to make sure we're different from people like Sam. So we have to keep doing this. Thank you for helping me get the job done. I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to do some other stuff too. We're going to do stuff on Sirach and his whole failure to understand talking to the dead and prayers, right? This guy's crazy. We'll get into other issues as well. We're going to stay on him for a while, though, because he's such a cancer and a pig, and he's attacking people, doxing people, going after their families. He's not a good person on any level, and anyone who supports him, shame, right? That's what you get right there. Yeah. Now, tell me how that feels, huh? No one likes the shame. Anyway, deal with it. I'll be back tomorrow. See you then. talking to the dead and prayers, right? These guys great. We're going to stay on him for a while, though, because he's such